Who could beat Omni-Man, Peacemaker, Homelander, Ghostface, Conan, the T-1000? That's a question that I have asked in regards to all of their appearances in Mortal Kombat 1. And what we're going to do today is I'm going to take all these who could beat videos and line them up chronologically to release order. So we're gonna go Omni-Man, Peacemaker, Homelander, blah, 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 blah. And you can sit back and enjoy it and listen to me ramble about these fictional fights. If you want to stick around to the very end, I'm gonna answer the question that many people have asked is, who could Omni-Man beat of the other guest characters? And we're going to say, please consider signing up for the Patreon. I'm actually pumping out content now, so if you love my stuff and want to support me, please consider going and signing up for the Patreon. Now, enjoy the compilation. Omni-Man recently invaded the realms of Mortal Kombat, and it got me wondering, who on the MK roster could legitimately stand a chance against one of Viltrum's mightiest soldiers? Let's start with the slam dunk, Liu Kang. He's basically God. He can summon a black hole at the snap of his fingers, so he'd stand a pretty good chance. Then on the opposite end, you got Johnny Cage, and I love you, buddy, but you would break your knuckles punching him in the balls, and then he would just rip your head off. Havoc, a maybe. He'd become like immortal without the ability to fly. Omni-Man wouldn't be able to kill him, so Havoc may be able to wear him down just through pure persistence. I'm gonna kill a bunch of birds with one stone here, the ninjas. As cool as they are, I don't think any of them have the ability to take out a Viltrumite.
Stop, please. Don't hit me with water.
Katana, not unless those fans are laced with the Scourge virus. And speaking of viruses, Melina and Baraka. They could infect him with Tarkat, which might kill him in the long run, but in the moment they'd be kinda screwed, so no. Garrus, 1 billion lifetimes worth of experience, godlike strength, the inability to die, and partial control over the time-space continuum. He stands a pretty good shot. Do not forget about my merchandise. The Don't Get No Respect design is only available until December. Don't miss out. Kung Lao, nice hat, but I don't think it's gonna cut it. And speaking of cutting, Ashura. Depending on just how magic her sword is, she might stand a chance. But if Omni-Man got one solid punch on her, she would explode. Another batch of birds. Lee, no. Kenshi, no. Tanya, no. Natara, no. Reiko, they would be kindred spirits. They would probably get along, but still no. And speaking of Reiko, General Shao. Shao Kahn, I would have said yes. General Shao, I'm gonna give him a solid maybe. And back-to-back maybes with Raiden. Old timeline Raiden, I would have said yes, absolutely. This Raiden, Sindel is a yes. She's without doubt the most powerful moment in Mortal Kombat, and the only real disadvantage she would have against Omni-Man is her durability. Shang Tsung. His entire gimmick in this new timeline is basically biological warfare, and I kind of name-dropped the thing earlier, the Scourge virus. Given a little bit of prep time, I bet Shang Tsung come up with either the Scourge virus or an equivalent that he could shank Omni-Man with that would turn it into a fair fight.
I have studied you. You have weaknesses.
So I'm gonna give Shang a solid maybe. Booyah! Peacemaker! Possibly the most unsung of all Mortal Kombat guest characters, but one of my favorites. In honor of this being John Cena's final year in professional wrestling, as well as today being the 1-year anniversary of Peacemaker's arrival in Mortal Kombat 1, I thought it was only fitting to go back and finally do this video. Now, Peacemaker gets some flack for being a guy, but he is just a guy in the same way that Batman is. He is the pinnacle of the male body, along with gadgets and gear to help him out, tons of martial arts training, and of course, the old force multiplier.
Let's see Batman do that.
So it's time to ask the question, who on the Mortal Kombat roster could beat Peacemaker? Scorpion and the newest Fortnite character, Sub-Zero. They would both be able to beat the Maker of Peace with their ninja skills and their superpowers. However, also speaking of ninjas, I think that Reptile would lose. He can turn into a big scary monster, and he's an accomplished martial artist. But I think that Peacemaker could pretty easily technology his way through this lizard werewolf. Possibly literally. Smoke and Kung Lao! They're both humans with mid-tier superpowers, which put them right on Peacemaker's power level, so I'm gonna say it's a maybe for both. Johnny Cage! In standard hand-to-hand combat, I think that Johnny would stand a pretty good chance. But with no green for Johnny, and Peacemaker with his, tools, I think that Johnny would lose. Rapid fire of winners! Liu Kang, Garrus, Sindel, Havoc, Ermac, Omni-Man, Homelander, Noob, Saibot. I'm giving him some credit, trying to be a bit lenient, but can't be too unrealistic. He would not beat any of these guys. General Shao, though, I'm gonna say maybe. Because when you think about Peacemaker going up against a stronger opponent, you've got to think about what helmet that he's gonna bring. And if he brings the right one, I think he could pull it off against the former Khan. Rain! Despite how much crap that he loves to talk on Aquaman, I don't think Peacemaker would stand a chance against the ex-demigod.
Cage says I should call you Water Wielder.
Only if you wish to be drowned.
Then a rapid fire of losers! Reiko, Lime, Baraka, Natara.
Eat peace.
beast, motherfucker.
Tanya, he might be able to work around, her god powers, but it's definitely not for sure. So maybe. Quan Chi, nope. Raiden, don't think so. Shang Tsung, nah. Katana and Mileena, I'm gonna give both a solid maybe. Again, as I've mentioned previously, I think that Katana has a better chance than Mileena, because let's not forget what happened to that first butterfly. Kenshi! If he just had the sword and telekinesis, I would say maybe. But with him having a ghost samurai watching his back, yeah, I think Kenshi would beat Peacemaker. Ashura, continuing to be the queen of maybes. Takeda! He's a skilled ninja with a diverse arsenal. But I think that Peacemaker has taken on tough or tougher opponents, plus no real magic or super duper techno edge. I think that Cena would win. Speaking of super techno edge, Sector and Cyrax.
Come on, babe. Why fight when we can fuck?
Never in a million years.
A battle of high tech versus high-ish tech. But if there's one thing the DC characters know, it's fighting against cyborgs and robots. Together, the two cyber initiates would overpower him. But one-on-one, I think that it's a solid maybe. Conan the Barbarian. So, fun fact, with the Who Would Beat Conan video, I really pissed off the Conan fanbase, it seems. To be fair to me, I think I was very fair to Conan. I said he could beat Reptile, Natara, hell, I said he could beat Shang Tsung! Yeah, maybe I could have given him the princesses and smoke, but I still think that I was perfectly fair. Their biggest concern was that I didn't do my research. Well, they will be happy to know that for this video, I did my research. So through all that research, I have found that I'm going to continue to piss the Conan community off by saying that Captain Caveman could not beat Peacemaker. Suck it, Ghostface. Are we really asking this?
Don't do this, John!
And capping off with the T-1000. He might look like Peacemaker's dad, but I don't think that a bullet to the forehead will take out this version of Robert Patrick. Sorry, T-1000 win. So there we have it. The long-awaited and much delayed Who Could Beat Peacemaker. Good old Homelander came to Mortal Kombat 1 last week, and a lot of people have been wondering who on the MK roster could actually canonically probably beat Homelander. And I just want to say this right off the top. Because of the whole Omni-Man situation, people have gotten this misconception that Homelander is a little bitch. Which he isn't. Well, maybe personality-wise. In The Boys, Homelander is a big fish in a little pond. But he is still a really big fish. He can fly at over 1,100 miles an hour. He is bulletproof. He is so strong he could tear through somebody without even noticing they were there. And of course, he's got the lasers. Just because Omni-Man, who is one of the biggest fish to ever exist, could beat Homelander in a fight, the average Joe has gotten this misconception that they, personally, could kick his ass. Which, good luck with that, fucker. All that said, yeah, Omni-Man would be able to beat him. As for the other guest character, I don't think John Cena would stand that much of a chance. You can blast him with as many kryptonite bullets as you want, I don't think Homelander would care. So yeah, Peacemaker would be screwed. Someone who might stand a chance, though, is Quan Chi, and I am basing this 100% off of his hypnosis. As we learned from the comics, if there is one person who can defeat Homelander, it's Homelander. And so if Quan Chi could use his magic to control Homelander and have him beat himself up, he might stand a chance. But if that doesn't work, then he is rapid fire of a couple losers. Baraka, Smoke, Tanya, Raiko, Natara, Kenshi.
Another fucking blind guy.
Here's one that might get some pushback. I think that Havoc could do it. Just through sheer force of will and unkillability. I think the artist, formerly known as Dairu, would probably be able to wear Homelander down and take him out. Ermac. I mean, Homelander doesn't really have a soul, and that's kind of his whole thing, so big disadvantage there. I don't think so. Johnny Cage! Liu Kang nerfed him! He doesn't have his green anymore! The glow might have been able to absorb or reflect Homelander's lasers, but now, nope, I don't think so. And speaking of the god of the new era, Liu Kang! Yeah, without a doubt. Homelander likes to think that he's a god. Liu Kang is literally a god. Liu Kang could definitely take him out, and plus, I mean, I don't think Homelander could eat a black hole as well as Omni-Man could. Now, someone who didn't get nerfed, though, I think, Ashura. She's got a magical demon-killing sword, which means it's definitely a lot more powerful and a lot sharper than your average kitchen knife, so it could likely cut through Homelander. But she is still just a person, all squishy and malleable. So if Homelander could avoid her slashes, then he could take her out real easy, and that'd be the end of that. So maybe. I know some of y'all love him, but Kung Lao would die. Yeah, he's a kung fu master, but I don't think a guy who can get shot in the face is gonna get knocked out by one good human punch. And his hat isn't exactly magic, so it would just bounce off of him and then where's that leave? And also someone who got nerfed in the new era, Scorpion. He's just a human now. He's not even a demon. He's just a guy who can throw fire. And Homelander don't care about fire, so Scorpion is pfft. Now, another possibly controversial one, Sindel. She's the only one who's being moved down from a yes to a maybe when you compare this one to the Omni-Man list.
Oh, well.
So I watched the finale of season 2 after I filmed all this, so apparently Homelander does have a weakness to supersonic screeching, and yeah, I guess Sindel would win.
But still, she is the most powerful woman in the Mortal Kombat universe, so she still has a fair shot. Garrus, unkillable? Check. Control over the space-time continuum? Check. Immensely strong? Check. Billions of years worth of wisdom? Check. Yeah, Garrus could take out Homelander. Another rapid fire of losers. Mileena, Katana, Rain, Li Mei, Reptile, and Sub-Zero. Sub-Zero, yeah, his ice is annoying, especially against normal humans, but I don't think it would stop Homelander for very long. Li Mei, ha! Reptile, I feel like Homelander would just rip off his tail just to see if it would grow back, so yeah. Then we've got General Shao. I'm gonna say the same thing that I said with him in the Omni-Man video. If this was Shao Kahn, yes, he would have a very good chance of victory. But since it's General Shao, maybe. I don't know. Raiden, same thing. Previous era, Thunder God, the answer would be a yes, I think he could. Current era, it's a maybe leaning toward no, but he's got the benefit of the doubt. Then we've got Shang Tsung. Who? I think he could do it. I think that Shang is smart and conniving enough where he could figure some out. Plus, aside from just absurd brute strength, chemical warfare is probably your best chance of taking out Homelander. So I think that through sheer wits in scheming, he would make Billy Butcher and Frenchie proud and outsmart Homelander to death. And even though he's not in the game yet, Takeda, based on everything we know about him right now, no. Unless he gets a major overhaul with his lore and his power set, he does not stand a chance. And there is one more name that we haven't mentioned. Yeah, no. Ghostface would get eviscerated immediately. So there we have it. That's everyone I think that could stand a chance against Homelander, and everyone I think would get destroyed. Who on the Mortal Kombat roster could canonically beat Ghostface? We've done this kind of thing in the past. We had Omni-Man, one of the strongest beings in a universe full of incredibly strong beings, as powerful or more so than Superman, but with no aversion to killing and decades of military training. Then we had Homelander, who is also an evil Superman with no known weaknesses and has laser beams, the no question strongest character in his respective canon. And now we have Ghostface, an with a kitchen knife and a literal Halloween costume. So this will be interesting. I don't think they're gonna have the same KD ratio. But we're gonna give this spooky season slasher the best benefit of the doubt and the most advantage possible. We're gonna approach this like Ghosty has broken into their house at 3 a.m. and the victim is home alone. Just 1 to 3 Ghostface killers versus the one lone combatant. Because if it was proper Mortal Kombat tournament rules, face to face, it would probably be a 0-10 sweep. And before we start, make sure you like and follow. We're gonna start with the rapid fire people who would have absolutely no issues. Liu Kang, Raiden, Garrus, Scorpion, Smoke, Reptile, Sub-Zero. I don't think any of these guys would be sweating if they came face to face with Ghostface, despite what we saw in the trailer. Now, someone who is tough, but might have a hard time, Baraka. Especially since in this new era, he's just a dude inflicted with terminal porcupine herpes. I think that Baraka could beat Ghostface, but is not a clear-cut victory. Natara coming in with her first W because Vampire beats Angsty Teen. Shang Tsung and General Shao would independently dunk on Ghostface like a little bitch. It would be like a scene out of a scary movie, Ghostface trying to fight either of them. Kenshi, I consider putting in a maybe for a minute, but it's hard to sneak up on somebody with telekinesis who also has a ghost samurai watching their back 24/7. And speaking of magical swords, Ashra. Maybe. And I know what you're thinking. Zach, how do you give Ashra a maybe against Homelander and Omni-Man, but also against Ghostface? And it's actually for the exact same reasons. Because her magic sword, for all intents and purposes, is the only real advantage that she has. If they can avoid getting stabbed or slashed themselves, they might have a shot. Havoc would respect the hustle and then rip out their hearts with a smile on his face. Another rapid fire of winners. Sindel, Rain, Tanya, Kung Lao, Reiko, Ermac, Li Mei. Now you may be wondering, Zach, why Reiko and Kung Lao get yes when Ashra get maybe? Well, the answer to both is very simple. Training, skills, and the almighty vibes. I feel like Reiko is one of those guys where you could stab him in the gut and be like, oh, but then you immediately shove his thumbs into your eye sockets. And Razor Hat beats Pocket Knife, it just does. Katana and Mileena. The vibes are a little off here. I'm gonna be split and say the Katana is a yes and Mileena is a maybe. They're both trained in combat. They both have some superpowers. But again, we're approaching this as, surprise attack when they're home alone, then that gives Ghostface a little bit of an advantage. Between the two, I say Katana has the better shot because Ghostface is known to be, relatively smart and conniving. Again, relatively. And if Melina went all feral, that might actually work in Ghosty's favor. Again though, it's a high maybe. Real close to a yes. Then a different pair of ladies, Sector and Cyrex. They would have little issue. And yes, I just said surprise attack when they're home alone, but for the sake of this, they still have their armor. Sector isn't walking around in a pair of toe socks and one of Sub-Zero's oversized hockey jerseys. Takeda's ninja skills and razor wires would be more than enough to dispatch the costume killer. Alright, I've been putting this off for long enough. Johnny Cage takes the lone L on this list.
Oh, come on! This is bullshit! He's a dude with a knife!
He's the most just a guy on the MK roster, besides Ghostface. He has no glow balls, no shadow powers. In the movies, the Ghostface has killed people as stronger than Johnny. So I think Johnny would lose. Quan Chi, if they can duck and dive and get real fast and shank him in the throat, maybe, but realistically, probably not. Mind control, demons that he can summon at will, other vague magical powers. Homelander and Omni-Man.
Well...
Peacemaker! They fought guys with guns before and won, but Peacemaker still has the helmets, and he is John Cena, so it's a maybe. Noob Saibot. Hey! This one is actually pretty fair right off the bat. Throwing his other powers, his martial arts training, and the fact that he can apparently now kill gods. Yeah, Noob Saibot wins. Conan the Barbarian. Same thought as Reiko, actually. He's just a guy, but he is a big, tough, imposing dude, and I bet that he could shrug off being stabbed in the stomach and then call Drogo anyone under that mask. So Conan would win. And capping off with the T-1000. Yeah, Ghosty don't stand a chance. So there we have it. My breakdown of who I think could canonically beat Ghostface on Mortal Kombat roster. Who on the Mortal Kombat roster could defeat Conan? He is a vicious, hardened killer with muscles that you can bend rebar around in a bloodlust that is only rivaled by Scarlet. While he may not be a world-destroying alien or a Time Lord, he is far from a chump and knows his way around the battlefield. Keep in mind this isn't a real knife, We're gonna start off with a controversial one here, Shang Tsung. I think that Conan would defeat him. Now before he said anything, yes, I said yes or maybe to Omni-Man and Homelander. But he loses to Conan? Yes. Conan literally made his bones by defeating shape-shifting snake sorcerers. And it's just different situations overall, So I think that Shang would lose. Then a different sorcerer, Quan Chi. I think he would have a little bit better chance than Shang, given their different movesets. Portal, summoning demons, mind control. While slaying sorcerers is a specialty of Conan's, I think Quan would have a fair shot. Scorpion and Sub-Zero, I think, could both defeat Conan. Between their mastery of martial arts and their control over fire and ice respectively, the Chimerian would not stand very much of a chance. Reptile though, I'm sorry, but Conan would slay that dragon, even with his invisibility powers. Fatality. Quick rapid fire winners: Liu Kang, Garrus, Raiden, Havoc. Havoc would probably be the one that was the most fun to fight for Conan, but all of them would come out on top. Smoke would have a chance with his stealth and his teleportation and his mastery of the knife, but it would not be easy. Kung Lao and Johnny Cage. I think that they would both lose. Old Kung Lao with his teleportation and his, borderline magical abilities would be a solid maybe, but as he is now, Conan would overpower both of them. Katana and Melina, on the other hand, both get maybes. They're fairly physically strong and have some pretty solid superpowers, but Conan has faced tougher opponents. Again, it's a maybe. Rain would win because you can't really stab the tides. General Shao and Tanya both get maybes. Shao just because of his brute strength and his martial skills, and Tanya because she's literally got the gods on her side. Sindel is a dub, and it wouldn't be that hard. Sorry, Conan.
That was entertaining.
Rapid fire of losers. Reiko, Lime, Baraka, and Ashra. Before we comment, this is a very different situation than Homelander and Omni-Man. Those maybes were a matter of if she could dodge a punch and get one good slash into their guts. But face to face, sword to sword, fight to the death, Conan is the superior swordsman, and I truly believe that he would come out on top. Kenshi would be a pretty even fight, Kenshi would have an advantage with his, telekinesis and all that, but Conan is still brutally strong and more skilled than he is with a sword. Solid maybe, pretty even. Nitara! Conan loves slaying monsters and has killed more than a few vampires in his day, so she would lose. Peacemaker! Man's got guns and powerful helmet tech, but he is still a squishy mortal where getting stabbed in the face would be fatal. I'll give Conan a maybe here because, from a distance, Peacemaker wins. If Conan couldn't get, in real close, then Peacemaker is... More winners! Ermac, Omni-Man, Homelander, Dupe, Cybot. Be it through powerful magic or just sheer brute force, all of these guys would overpower Conan. Takeda is a maybe. He's got ninja skills and razor wires, but Conan is strong as an ox and deceptively agile, and again, got a lot of combat under his belt. It wouldn't be an easy fight for either of them, so we're gonna call it maybe. Please, I'm almost done. Please don't piss on the floor. Cyrax and Sector. I'm sorry, but this one would be a wash. Pretty much everything in both of their kits would defeat Conan in an instant. It's literally a caveman versus a cyborg. Ghostface. And last off, the T-1000. If getting blasted in the face with a shotgun, frozen solid, and exploded didn't finish him off, then stabbing with a sword or punching him in the face sure ain't gonna do it either. Sorry, Arnold. Makes you really think, though, who could beat the T-1000? But that's a topic for another day. The T-1000! The original Glacius has joined the Mortal Kombat roster, and so it's time to ask the question, who on the MK1 roster could canonically beat the T-1000? If you haven't seen Terminator 2, first off, you're wrong. If you have, you know that killing this SOB is no simple feat. So, let's consider who could accomplish it. Shang Tsung! You can't use biological warfare on T-1000. Slashing him wouldn't really do much, and I don't know how well the just shape-shifting disguising would really work against this killbot, so I think that Shang would lose.
Say, that's a nice look.
Raiden, though, he's not as powerful as he was before, but we don't really know how well electricity would work against the T-1000. Would it kill him instantly, leave him unfazed, or make him more powerful than before? We don't really know, so I'll give Raiden a maybe. Liu Kang and Garrus. Technology still can't really beat control over the time-space continuum or the power cosmic, so they both win. Rapid fire of losers! Smoke, Reptile, Kung Lao, Johnny Cage, Katana, Melina. And get used to hearing that word a lot in this video. We talked about the OG sorcerer, but what about Quan Chi? Face to face, he wouldn't really be able to mind control the T-1000 or beat him in a fist fight. But he could potentially trap the robot in the Netherrealm, so I'll give Quan Chi a very tentative maybe. Rain, General Shao, Tanya are all no-goes, they would lose. Sindel! How would the liquid metal man respond to being bombarded with 500 decibels? I don't know, so she gets a maybe. Havoc! I don't think that he would win or lose. He couldn't kill Havoc, and Havoc couldn't kill him. In power sets, they're actually very similar. Shoot them, stab them, rip them in half, blow them to pieces, and they're just gonna reconstitute and keep on coming. I think that this would be a total stalemate, but that's not an option here. It's close as a maybe, so we'll go with a maybe. More losers. Reiko, Lime, Baraka, Ashura, and Sub-Zero. Ashura finally gets a loss, and Sub loses because in Terminator 2, we literally saw the T-1000 get frozen solid and shattered into pieces, and that still didn't keep him down for long. His brother Scorpion, on the other hand, I think he might be able to do it. How was the T-1000 defeated in Terminator 2? Spoilers, being melted. What did Scorpion prove that he was able to do in the MK1 story mode? Melting metal people. So, I think Scorpion wins. Kenshi, Natara, Peacemaker, and Ermac all lose.
Why are you staring at me?
Because, fuck, man! You look just like my dad!
Omni-Man and Homelander. Omni-Man, I say, wins simply because he could grab the T-1000 and throw him into the sun. Homelander, on the other hand, he hasn't been shown to be able to leave the Earth's atmosphere, but he does have some pretty powerful laser beams, and while he wouldn't be able to reach the sun, dropping the T-1000 into a volcano would probably still work, and Homelander could do that. So he gets a win too. Noob Saibot loses. Takeda loses. Cyrax loses. Sector, though, she can go into space like Omni-Man, so she can just grab him and dub him up there. But if the T-1000 liquefied his way into her armor and gave her the old shrinking ray treatment, that would be bad for Sector. Then there's also, depending on how hot her flamethrowers run, she might be able to melt him like Scorpion did. So Sector gets a real solid maybe. Ghostface. Are you kidding me? Yeah. No. And last up, Conan the Barbarian. Sorry, buddy, but Technology beats archaic barbarism. Punch and slash the T-1000 all you want, Arnold. This fight's not gonna end as well as Terminator 2 did, so Conan loses. So, there we have it. That's my list for today of who I think could beat T-1000 and who I think would fall to his spiky offense. Alright, I hope you enjoyed the compilation, and now the question of who could beat Omni-Man of the other guest characters. None of them. They would all lose to Omni-Man, let's be very, very real here. T-1000, Conan, Ghostface, Homelander, Peacemaker, none of them stand a chance, come on. But yeah, considering that is more than likely gonna be the last of the guest characters in Mortal Kombat 1, makes you really wonder where we're gonna go from here. What the hell was that? Anyway, follow for more MK content, and once again, please consider signing up for the Patreon. It really, really helps me in supporting me. I'm pumping out more content. We've got the reading of the Mortal Kombat novel by Jeff Roven. We've got the Combat Wrestling League. We've got some behind-the-scenes stuff coming. We've got then old stuff I've done as well, such as movie commentary, Shogun's of Sorcerers, stream archives, all kinds of fun stuff. So if you want to go head over to the Patreon, sign up. It would mean the world to me. I really appreciate it. And also, shout out to my newest Patreon member, Hardy Cat. Thanks for signing up, buddy.